Welcome back to Disenthrall, guys. My name is Ryan LaMarche.
I am Patrick Smith, and this is my daughter Jade, who is joining us today for Father's Day. So this will be a fun time episode. We're talking about a lot of great stuff that I'm sure she'll love.
Happy and fun.
all the great
rainbows and ponies.
Okay, so today we have kind of a cool thing. We're going to run an experiment. This is our first experiment live on the show. We're going to start at the beginning and kind of watch it throughout the episode and see how it goes at the end.
Nice.
The experiment will be to see if guns point themselves at gay people or children.
Or black people.
Oh, okay, we can do that too. Let's just throw it all in there.
Yeah.
All right, so here, let me take my headphones off. Here's the experiment. All right, so let's get this going. Here we have a gun. It's a very dangerous weapon. All right, so we're gonna, we have a gun cam. Here's the gun cam. Gun cam. All right, sweet. So, I don't know if they can hear me, so talk them through what we're doing here.
Yeah, so he's just going to set the gun in the center, pointed in neither direction.
There we go. Okay.
Yes.
And now we need to trick the gun into aiming itself at people. So, I've got some representational photos here. Can they hear me? I can't tell.
Yeah, they can hear you.
We have Gene Simmons, and we have school children.
Nice.
So, over the course of this episode, we're going to see if the gun remains stationary or if it automatically points itself at one of these groups of people or types of people. What do you think?
Cool.
All right.
Should I raise the stakes?
Oh, yeah, let's do it. What?
Okay. I got Milo Yiannopoulos.
Oh, snap. All right. I have some controls. We have one of Cop's favorite weapons, so we can see if that will, beat on the black guy.
Just
we
drop
don't have a black guy. Where's the black guy?
right here.
Yeah. No, you can't start it out pointing at the black guy.
Well, we all know what happens now.
All right, so here we go. Okay.
There we go.
Now we have other weapons. We can watch and see what happens. I also have... Let's see.
There's going to be a lot of stuff on there.
These are controls.
Got a knife.
Ah!
I know it's scary. Watch out. And a hammer, which is technically a tool, but also a weapon, right?
Yeah. I think that hammers kill more people than guns do each year, right?
I don't know. Is that true?
I think so.
What?
Okay.
People use hammers more than guns as tools for killing people.
So, on today's episode, we'll check back in on our weapon stash every once in a while, just to make sure to see, because my hypothesis is a hypothesis, right? Nothing will happen because these are inanimate objects. But, let's wait and see.
I don't know, man. You ever seen any of those ghost stories?
Okay, cool. So, moving on. Next up I want to lead the show with something like light and fun, because we've been doing kind of a lot of hardcore, dark, and sad stories lately. So, today I want to tell an uplifting story. So let's see.
To start with. Sorry, ruined it.
Yes. All right, so I want to tell you the story of Luis. This is Luis Omar Ocasio-Capo. He was, unfortunately, an Orlando mass murder victim. Now, I know I said that I'm leading with something happy, and I promise it's coming. So, basically what happened is very recently, a couple days ago, his grandmother was on a JetBlue flight. She was flying somewhere. The flight attendant, I guess, somehow knew that she had just lost her grandson in this mass murder event, right? So, she took it upon herself to pass or circulate a sheet of paper amongst the passengers on the plane, asking them to write a few words in support, support, kindness, among the passengers, asking them to write a few words of support or condolences or things like that. So What actually happened, though, kind of blew everyone's minds. The passengers instead produced paragraphs and entire pages of like emotional support, like supportive, condolent, like just really beautiful, awesome stuff for the grandmother.
Nice.
And so they basically delivered all this to her. And then when the plane landed, they all stopped and, didn't like rush off the plane like usually happens. They all, like one at a time, every single passenger took a moment to say something. They would stop in the aisle before leaving the plane and offer her words of support. No one complained that they were in a hurry and needed to get off the plane or anything like that. They all just kind of took a moment and gave her some emotional support.
Nice.
So this is one of those stories that I wanted to go over because we're always talking about the dark side of humanity lately, and this is the light side. This is an entire group of people kind of coming together to support someone that's been affected by a tragedy. So I wanted to kind of give that to you guys.
Cool.
Yep.
All right.
Is it Louis or Luis?
Louise. She was sitting there thinking that whole time.
I was.
He messed up the name.
Well, yeah.
All right. Luis Omar Ocasio-Capo was the victim.
That's not an easy name to say.
And the flight attendant, who's worth pointing out, just to praise her efforts, was Kelly Davis Carras. Carras, I don't know.
Yep.
You got any opinions on that? Carras?
Probably Carras, right?
All right, let's go with that. All right.
Sure.
Hit it.
Sweet. Okay, so this one is just kind of a cool story about researchers trying to simulate the human brain with technology, with computing power. They were actually able to, to start out, every extremely difficult computational problem starts out with people having to use an extreme amount of computing power to do something. Like whenever they wanted a computer to play chess or render 3D models or something like that, they had to use this crazy supercomputer to do it because it was unfound territory. No one really knew exactly how to do it. And then from there, that problem gets easier, and then you can do it from a PC and then a phone, and now you can play chess on your phone, or even probably on a smartwatch or anything like that.
Right.
So researchers at the Okinawa Institute of Technology Graduate University in Japan and Forschungsinstitut.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Why don't you just show them the name of the...
Oh, we got something here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the story that I got this from, but the next
Simulating 1 second. Oh, okay, next slide.
Yeah. These are the two people in charge of this. So the top is a company, a German company, which is why I can't pronounce that. I can't pronounce that.
Oh, she's going to do it.
I have no idea.
No, do it.
Oh, it went away.
Oh, okay. I can fix that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can bring it back for you.
Forschungszentrum.
Of course.
Forschungszentrum.
Uh-huh.
I made it sound Japanese.
Wait.
It's a German.
I know.
It's a German.
So I probably did that wrong.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, they managed to simulate about 1 second of 1.73% of human brain activity using the fourth fastest supercomputer in the world, which is called the K computer. So they were actually able to do this not in real time. They weren't able to simulate 1 second of brain activity in 1 second. It took them 40 minutes to get 1 second of biological brain processing time. And during that time, they used 1 petabyte of system memory to do this.
Didn't you say they simulated 1% of the brain?
1.73% of the brain's activity.
So
1 second of 1.73% of brain's activity. Because they're only simulating 1.73% of brain cells out of the there's I think they said 100 million brain cells on average in a human brain. They're only simulating 1.73% of that.
For 1 second.
For 1 second.
Took 40 minutes.
It took 40 minutes of...
And a petabyte. Wow.
Of this computer that has 82,944 processors, and it took 1 petabyte of memory to do it. Anyway, so this is kind of how all great ventures in computing start, from a computer playing chess, like I said, to rendering 3D graphics. And this is the start of what could very well be the building of an entire human brain acting in real time on a computer. Because from here on, people are gonna be like, okay, now what's the next thing? Well, let's build an entire human brain, which I'm basically talking about AI, artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean. Elon Musk is like shaking in his boots right now because he came out a while back saying that he was totally afraid of the notion of AI becoming reality, because there's a lot of people out there that think that AI is dangerous and can like destroy mankind and the whole Skynet thing, So
yeah,
but
I mean the Skynet theory sort of makes sense, right? Because of the what do you call it? The exponential growth of processing power. So if we can do 1% of the brain for 1 second today,
how long until it's 100% in real time?
Then in 10 years or whatever, we're doing it all in 1 second instead of 40 seconds.
Right.
And then we're doing 10% instead of 1%.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy that they're able to do this.
So in a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
So that means we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. We're good. Screw you guys.
Perfect.
Future generations, you're screwed.
Perfect. Okay.
Awesome.
I'm gonna
Still a huge computer and a huge amount of processing power just to do the 1%.
It's impressive.
That's crazy.
That is really impressive. Okay.
It's only the fourth strongest or fastest computer in the world too.
It's always my job to bring it down.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Can you do the really sad story next time?
I have a sad story.
Okay.
People dying.
Okay, no one dies in my story, so I'm doing good. Here we go.
Okay. Well, these people have already died a long time ago.
All right. And I want to hear what your thoughts are on this too, so be ready. This is kind of a monologue. I'm going to play a video of the incident and kind of talk you through what's happening and the background of the story as it kind of plays out. So Here we go. Okay. Today I want to tell you the story of Bryce Masters, a 17-year-old from Independence, Missouri. Bryce's dad, Matt, was a police officer with the Kansas City Police Department. Throughout high school, Bryce mostly kept out of trouble and hung out with his friends. He was athletic and made good grades. In the summer of 2014, he had a couple of run-ins with Independence officers Travis Gillihan and Timothy Runnels. At one point, the officers found half a joint when they searched Bryce and a friend of his. One morning in August 2014, after spending the night at a friend's house, Bryce walked outside and approached his car, which was parked on the street. Officer Gillihan was involved again. Gillihan claimed he received a call about a suspicious car parked overnight, and he was waiting when Bryce walked outside. The officer pushed him against the car and began digging through his pockets. Bryce was carrying a small amount of marijuana in a baggie. He was taken to jail. A friend of his father's at the Independence police station called Matt to tell him his son had just been arrested. After bailing him out, later at home, Bryce described what happened. Something about the arrest didn't seem right. Matt couldn't see any probable cause. He told Bryce that the officer shouldn't have gone into his pockets and that the search was likely illegal. While his parents were disappointed with him, they were outraged at the conduct of the officers involved. They called the station, spoke to the sergeant, told them that they believed the officers had conducted an illegal search and that they were considering filing a complaint. The sergeant told her that if she had been a better mother, maybe none of this would have happened. Matt and Stacy, Bryce's mother, sat him down and explained to him that if an officer ever stopped him, that he had every right to know why he was being stopped and whether he was under arrest. This advice was still fresh in Bryce's mind on September 14 when Officer Runnels pulled him over. Pissed off that he wouldn't roll his window down all the way, Runnels goes around and orders him out of the car. Just as instructed by his father, Bryce repeatedly asked if he was under arrest, and if so, what for.
I haven't done anything, officer. I haven't done anything, officer. What? Am I under arrest? 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 Am I under arrest?
With no reasons given, he resists Runnels' attempts to physically drag him out of the car. Runnels draws his taser and shoots Bryce in the chest. A single pull of the trigger on the taser would administer a 5-second shot, but Runnels, while continuing to hold the trigger down, orders Bryce out of the car. and while continuing to electrocute him, takes him down to the ground. Bryce screams in pain as his heart stops from the 23-second exposure to this taser. Almost 5 times the normal amount. As Bryce loses consciousness, he hears the officer Runnels' snarky, "I told ya." He stops breathing as this pathetic thug drags his body out of the street. With his arms handcuffed behind his body, there's nothing to stop what happens next. With his arms handcuffed behind his body, there's nothing to stop his face smashing into the concrete as the cop tosses him down, his teeth breaking and his jaw dislocating. "You don't like to play by the rules, do you?" Runnels says as Bryce's body jerks through his cardiac arrest. 8 minutes pass while his brain starves of oxygen until the actual heroes arrive and restart his heart. What was Bryce's crime that got him pulled over? That gave him brain damage that will last him the rest of his life? That ended his hopes of participating in competitive sports, but left him with a malfunctioning short-term memory, causing him to constantly forget things he had just done? That causes him to be unable to regulate his emotions anymore, resulting in the loss of most of his friends? Well, Runnels claimed that he saw an active warrant on the car, and that's why he pulled it over. But we find out later that that was untrue. You can hear him saying during the stop that he recognized the car from a few days prior and that he'd been busted for marijuana. So the answer to why he was pulled over is nothing. There was no reason. There was no crime that should have caused him to be pulled over. And it was only Runnels' need to dominate this boy that was insulted when he wouldn't roll the window down far enough. He had no cause to even initiate an encounter with Bryce, much less physically assault him, attempt to rip him from the car and tase him until his heart stopped. Cops today have developed a righteous air of authority. They come to believe that there are 2 types of people, police and the rest of us. They are no longer protectors and servants. They've become the enforcers of volumes upon volumes of regulations and of victimless crimes. They almost never answer for their own crimes, though. For you see, a cop will never blow the whistle on another cop, and the general public hasn't yet fully realized how bad it's gotten. This cop's town of Independence, this cop's own town of Independence, didn't even attempt to press charges on Runnels. An attorney from the Department of Justice and the FBI had to do that. And even they were only able to convict this guy for dropping Bryce face first onto the concrete, not for the justificationless stop, or for the assault, or for the heart-stopping taser use, or life-altering brain damage. It's clear, guys, that we need people ready to aid in our protection. But the current system of these unaccountable bullies enforcing non-crimes at the point of guns and deadly tasers is just not working. This is only going to get worse. And the citizen response to it is only going to grow. Everyone has a camera nowadays. It's becoming much more difficult for these guys to hide the evils that they do, like Runnels tried to do in this video. The answer is to abolish victimless crimes. To stop asking these people to point their guns at us because you have opinions on what types of vegetation we can have in our pockets. The answer is for these guys to start refusing to be the tip of the spear for those opinions and to stop protecting the criminals amongst their ranks. The answer is to hold people wearing costumes to the same standards of behavior and to the same repercussions as those of us who do not wear those costumes. A traffic stop followed by a physical subdual followed by an arrest with a trip to the hospital for the criminal becomes an armed abduction followed by an assault, followed by assault and battery, followed by an attempted murder when inflicted on an innocent person. If these people knew that they could and would be charged with those crimes if they pulled over the wrong person or broke down the wrong door, they would be damn sure of what they were doing before initiating an encounter like this. We need consistency from everyone involved. You have no right to force your opinions on those around you. And the people around you have no right to force theirs on you. People wearing costumes have no rights or abilities that people not wearing costumes have. And you cannot vote it into being so. If we don't start getting an understanding of these basic ideas, I'm telling you guys, it's not going to end well. So, that's what I had to say about that. It was a pretty brutal situation.
Yeah. Watching that video sucked ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thoughts?
I mean, you're right, obviously. Like, everything I hear on the news recently involving police officers has been violent and has been a wrong act on their part. So, obviously, there's a problem in society that needs to be fixed, and confronted.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about, the general public's... It feels like, to me, the general public has a knee-jerk reaction to protect cops and to come to their defense and to kind of dismiss their crimes. Is that changing maybe with your generation or no?
I don't know a single person in my generation who isn't wary of police officers anymore.
Really?
No, not at all.
That's kind of huge.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that has to do with, my personal experience is because I have a lot of friends that are people of color, and so they've been more exposed to it for a lot longer. But my white friends are also, they're starting to be just as, wary of cops now.
That is interesting. My generation was a cop revering, these guys are heroes. Are you in a different generation than me? Or you're probably in between us.
Yeah. No, we're
What about yours?
We're all 9 years apart.
Yeah. It's interesting. We have a generational sample here.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, whenever I was in high school, I hung out with the crowd that didn't like cops because they were doing things that were considered illegal. So
yeah, what?
Same thing as this guy, just carrying marijuana on him.
Yeah.
So of course they hated the cops.
Gotcha.
Yeah. At any moment they wanted to take control of them, and punish them for stupid shit.
Well, I mean, I don't know, and you can be honest or not honest. It's totally up to you. You don't hang out with people that are into the stuff that like weed and stuff like that. That I mean, you can tell me if you are.
I have friends that are involved in certain things that would be considered illegal, but that's not the only reason that they do not like police officers.
Right.
They don't like them because they're brutal and likely to target them, So and I think my generation's interaction with social media, we've grown up around it now. So we have most of our exposure to police officers has been through the media, and since all that's been projected in media right now involving cops is negative, that's affecting our view of them completely. So.
And, we're continuing that with what I just did. But,
I mean, this is totally a logical argument, though, because, I mean, this guy, over and over again, was a victim himself of committing victimless crimes. This is a classic case of constant victimless crimes leading to a victim, which was the person who committed the victimless crimes to begin with. And the cops' total overstep of authority. This situation should have never happened from the very beginning, because this cop had no reasonable suspicion to pull over this person.
right,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing was absolutely terrible situation, wrong, and I can't believe this cop, like you said, wasn't charged for more, because it's obvious by the situation that he has no idea how to do his job.
Well, part of the problem, and we sort of addressed this on our last episode when we talked about the cop child rapists that all got their sentences reduced to less than 6 months,
right,
if not any jail at all, is that this guy was originally charged with 4 counts, assault. I don't remember what the actual charges were, but they were pretty serious, and all of the really serious ones got dropped, and he was just left with infringing on his constitutional rights or something like that. It was some innocuous charge, basically, and he got 4 years. So they made a plea deal. They gave him a plea deal, and that's what happened to every single one of those, in every single one of those cop rapist stories that we talked about last time. The cops get the plea deals, the cherry plea deals that the rest of us don't get, and that's when we were talking about, cop privilege or whatever.
Yeah, that's impossible, because justice is blind, right? Yeah. We were listening to something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but we were listening in the car, and they're saying that a crazy amount of court cases are being solved out of court these days by the just due to the overload of court cases and the court system and the justice system not being able to handle all these court cases.
I don't want to lie. I mean, I don't want to not lie. Lie is the wrong word. I don't want to misquote a statistic. I remember the statistic you're talking about, and I remember it was over 90. I want to say 95.
I feel it was something really ridiculous.
But I don't want to just make something up. But I know it was over 90. It's because if they actually tried 100% of the criminals that they arrested and that they charged, the system would collapse. They don't have enough people or resources to do it, and so the only way they can handle it is to cut plea deals.
Right.
But you gotta understand the injustice of a plea deal, and they even ask you when they offer you a plea deal. They said, okay, we're going to charge you with let's just make up some stuff. We're going to charge you with manslaughter and X and A and B and C and D, and the total of all this is you're probably going to get 200 years in prison, or you can accept our plea deal. And you can take 20 years in prison or 10 years in prison if you plead guilty to these lesser charges. And when they present that to you, and you have this option of signing it and agreeing and pleading guilty and taking the plea deal, or trying your luck in court against a completely biased system, that your chances are way less than 50-50 of actually being successful in defending yourself, because all these people sort of know each other because they've been working together for years, right? And when they offer you the plea deal, they make you sign a statement that says you weren't coerced in any way.
Right.
Completely missing
directly
the direct coercion of, well, you can risk it for the biscuit, or and maybe get 200 years, or
it's like a gamble.
We'll give you 20.
Yeah. That's why it was so weird whenever Brett Sanders had to go sign a piece of paper saying that there wouldn't be a plea deal in this case.
Yeah,
that was so weird.
That's what happened. Yeah, with Brett. Right, that was weird. I didn't even know why.
Because it's like part of the official justice system now. Like, is there going to be a plea deal or not a plea deal?
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of those, like if you have a windfall, like a financial windfall, and you. We got a question.
Yeah, we got a question. I was just about to say.
Sorry. Let me finish this thought, and then we'll get to it. When you get like a financial windfall, if you win a lawsuit or a personal injury case or whatever the financial windfall is, they always set it up in payments, right? You don't get if you win $100,000, you don't get $100,000 when you win the case. They break it up and they say, okay, we'll give you $10,000 for 10 months or whatever. They break it up over many years. Especially the bigger it is, the longer you get payments. And that's because it's much cheaper on them because they get to draw interest on the money, but that's beside the point. But what it is then you can take that lump sum payment deal, or you can take that deal that they've given you to make payments over a long period of time, and you can go to a finance company and say, hey, I will sign over this windfall to you if you give me a much smaller portion of it today. So if you had $1 million coming to you that was going to be paid out over 10 years, you could sign that over to this finance company. I forgot what the name of the companies are, and they'll give you, $250,000 today. Mm-hmm. So $250,000 today is worth a lot more to some people than $1 million over 10 years. These are just
it could literally
made up
be
numbers.
More, yeah. If you take into account inflation.
It's that cost benefit, like time. How much is time in your life worth? And now you're actually making this plea deal decision based on your life, like your time alive in the universe. Mm-hmm. Do I risk 200 years, losing my entire life, or do I just, or do I give them 20?
Yeah.
Wow. And that's not coercive.
Mm-hmm. Definitely is. Yeah.
She's like, yep.
I actually can take a crack at this question, I guess.
Oh, what's the question?
Do you think that Bryce would have been justified in shooting the cop? And then he put in parentheses, I do. And this reminds me of the video by Larkin Rose about when is it justified to shoot a cop.
When is it okay to shoot a cop?
Yeah, to shoot a cop.
Yeah.
And I think you can break it down into the moment that the cop... did he open the guy's door himself, or did the kid open the door?
This is a really sticky discussion.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
there's so many assumptions, and you can't make blanket statements.
Well, at some point, his rights were violated, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So, like, when is it, like, ethically okay to shoot a cop is a different question than when is it a good idea to shoot a cop. So let's just start there.
Oh yeah, true.
Right?
Yeah.
If he had shot that cop, he would be dead today.
Yes.
So it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, this is all broken down in that video. That's a good video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'd have to watch it again to get it all fresh in my memory. But
Yeah.
when is he morally justified? If the cop's pulling him over for no good reason, because if he doesn't pull over, that's a threat of force. So right from the pullover, in my opinion.
Moral justification, yes, but then there is just like like you said, it's not smart to do that, because the moment you do that, you're going to have the whole police force after you, and they're not going to arrest you. They're going to shoot
And
you.
the entire American public.
Yeah. Exactly, because it's funny. It's like, dude, I was about to be killed by this guy. This guy was dead for like a couple minutes, right?
He had no oxygen to his brain for 8 minutes.
Yeah. So, at what point is it like, is his life worth, the more than the cop's life who's doing something wrong?
I don't know if it's like a worth situation. I think it's just like a who initiated force in the situation.
Yeah.
And when did that force initiate?
Well,
That's the question.
People don't look at it like that, because they think that cops can do no wrong. So.
Yeah. But, I mean, if we're answering the question of when did the cop initiate force in that situation, it's when he lit up his lights and pulled him over.
And because there was absolutely no reason for him to do it in the first place.
Yep. Yeah. So, what if freedom really is free, whoever you are? I hope that was a good answer to your question. Thanks for dropping the question. That's our first one ever on this channel, so that's awesome.
Milestones.
Love that. Love it. Okay, what's next? Real quick.
Can we check? Yeah. Can we check the gun cam?
Gun cam.
Experiment.
Has it moved?
It looks like nothing has moved.
Not yet. Okay.
Incredible.
We got to get a little more time.
Yeah, maybe it's just, it's hard to move a big piece of metal by itself.
Takes time.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, just real quick. This is kind of an aside. This is kind of strange. So for the first time ever, I decided to try paying Facebook to boost one of our videos that we posted on our Disenthrall Facebook page. And it was the spanking video, because I thought so far, out of all the videos we've ever produced, that might be the most important one yet. So I was like, hey, let me try this ad system on Facebook, and I gave them $20 just to see like how the boosting works. And a day later, they took my post down and have yet to really give me an explanation as to why. And I'm trying to figure out why, because it's not, was it that controversial?
It's not really that controversial. Yeah, it's about spanking kids, right? So.
The description was something like, what's the difference between spanking and beating? I didn't think it would break any rules, but I'm still trying to get an explanation from him on that. Anyway,
maybe it's like, you're able to advertise your video like that? Right? I mean, I don't know if the advertising system is like actually for like advertising products or not. I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, maybe it could be my fault.
I'm
guys,
like a Facebook
honestly.
noob, I don't really know.
It could totally be my fault. Maybe I did something wrong with the ad, but the explanation they gave me was very ambiguous. It didn't really tell me much of anything. So.
Yeah, that person who asked the question is Jeff.
Jeff? Oh, oh, cool. Hey, Jeff. How's it going? Next up. Wow, we're just rolling along today.
Hell yeah.
Well,
there's no more happy moments. That's why.
No, we're kind of done with the heavy hardcore stuff. Oh wow, I think it accidentally moved.
Oh, it did what?
Oh no, of course it didn't move.
Oh, it's like, you gotta be kidding me.
I thought you like kicked the table.
No, of course it didn't move.
It's like, no, wrong. I'm gonna hit the table, and that flashlight's gonna kill all those children.
Yeah, I mean, look, guys, let's talk about it. Of course, these objects aren't going to move. This is just kind of an illustration to really just sort of solidify that point. These tools could all be considered and used as weapons, but none of them are really even weapons until a person picks them up and points them at somebody. They are inanimate objects that have no motivation, no will, no racism, no anti-gay bias, none of that. All that comes with the person holding them. Mm. And so to go on this gun jihad every time someone uses one of these tools in a terrible way is sort of a non sequitur. So many things to say on this. I'm going to try and keep it like on the rails. But I mean, there's been mass stabbings in other countries. It's not just guns. Like 28 people in one round from a mass stabbing.
Yeah. Remember that happening in the UK, I think it was.
And if they didn't have knives or guns, it would be a mass hammering or a mass flashlighting, or or they would break something off.
Stonings. Holy shit.
Stonings, sure. Look,
Happen all the time.
yes, guns make it easier than other weapons. But the how do I say it? The beauty of guns? The beauty of guns is that they are, just like all the other tools, first of all, just like all the other tools, they're a force multiplier. So if I need to get a nail driven into a piece of wood, I'm going to pick up a hammer because my hand
It's going to hurt.
will not do that as well. But I can multiply the force of my arm and hand through the hammer into the nail to get it done. The gun is that same sort of force multiplier.
It's an extension of yourself.
Much better than a sword. A sword is a force I keep messing that up.
A force multiplier.
A sword is a force multiplier in the same way a gun is. It's just one is a greater multiplier, right? One of the best things about guns, not the best thing, in all of history, every weapon that has ever existed, I think, has been created to close the gap between people in a fight. So if you have a strong man and a weak man in war, and it's a fist fight or a brawl, the strong man is almost always going to win. Mm. If he outweighs him by 150 pounds, it doesn't really matter how skilled this guy is.
No, it's about technique, bro.
It's about technique.
It's about technique.
It's about technique.
Bro, I could take him out.
But if you give him swords, then the small guy has a chance. He might be faster. He might be more skilled with the sword. He might be able to close that gap and stand on equal footing to someone else. A gun is, in all of history, the almost perfect equalizer, because it doesn't matter if you're a man or woman. It doesn't matter if you're 350 pounds or 75-pound child. That's a heavy child. If you're
the 70-pound
if you're
child,
a 50-pound child, you're on equal footing with your attacker when you hold a gun. And for the first time in history, all humans can sort of stand on an equal playing field in a fight, right? Mm. So, as a defensive tool, there is none better, because anyone can use it and be on equal footing with any attacker.
Okay.
That's one of the big points I wanted to make about guns, why they're so important.
Yeah. At a basic level, because there is some skills involved in being a better shooter.
Sure, you have to learn how to use it and aim it and load it and care for it.
So if you just take out all the extraneous variables,
But I would say that the skill required to properly use a pistol is far less than a sword.
Oh, yeah.
Or a polearm or a shield.
I was just talking about this with someone, and we're like, dude, if people use swords today in a fight, they're probably chopping their own leg off during that sword fight.
Yeah.
Because I've used like a play sword, and I've hit my own leg so many times with it. I'm like, dude, if this is a real sword, I would be fucked.
Well, yeah. Have you ever tried nunchucks?
Oh yeah, you're gonna hit your face. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, guns are so much easier.
You pretty much yes. And that goes to that kind of closing the skill gap necessary to be a level fight, an even fight, right? So this pistol that we've had on the table here is my wife's pistol. My wife uses this force multiplier to protect the things I love most in this world. She stands on equal footing, probably more than equal footing, because she's a badass, with any attacker using just about any weapon against her or my children. There is no better tool, and I say that very specifically, there is no better tool on this planet for her to carry with her to keep the things I love most safe. So when people talk about regulating guns and limiting guns and making guns harder to get and making us jump through hoops, the good guys that have to jump through hoops because we don't want to become bad guys, and the difference in the government's mind, the difference between a good guy and a bad guy is following the arbitrary laws that they create, that these people create with their opinions. it's a very emotional thing to me. It's a very personal attack on my family's ability to protect my family, the things I love. It is an ignorant position to take, to think that these inanimate objects are the problem, when there's 300 million of them in this country, and one guy uses one gun to do some admittedly terrible things. No one's arguing that. That would be a retarded argument to make. Mm-hmm. 1 out of 300 million, and guns are the problem. Not the people, not the guy holding it, not the person actually grabbing this stuff and pointing at people and using it against people. That's not the problem. The ideology driving those people is not the problem. The inanimate devices are the problem.
Right.
Now, another argument I'm tired of while I'm on rant mode is a lot of people say, Obama hasn't tried to confiscate anybody's guns. We're not trying to take anybody's guns away. We just want to make it, we just want to make it harder, not harder. They never say harder to get. We just want to make it so that bad people can't get guns. And what that means is we're going to create more barriers to entry to go to the store and buy a gun. And what that means is, it's not affecting you. You already have your guns. We're not trying to take them away. What that means is my kids and my grandkids will have a harder time getting the tools they need to defend themselves. Mm-hmm. So I am equally not okay with that as it would be if you came and tried to take mine. It's not happening. Sorry.
Exactly. I don't know.
What?
It's like bad people don't give a shit about your barriers of entry. they don't give a shit.
That's another interesting point that I think no one has realized yet. You can 3D print a gun. Yeah. Anyone can right now buy a 3D printer and print a gun, and it's good for 6 or 12 or 24. I forgot how many rounds they managed to put through it so far, and they're getting better every day. They're working on these things, they're improving the designs. Anyone can print a gun and completely subvert all of your stupid rules that everyone, all these opinions and all these hurdles that you try and get law-abiding people to follow. Mm-hmm. The ship has sailed, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, the people trying to regulate the purchase of guns are like the MPAA and the RIAA was. Like, before it was easy to copy this stuff, maybe you had the ability to force the marketplace to, not copy your songs or not copy your movies. But that ship sailed. Like, you can regulate, you can make all the laws you want. You have made all the laws you want. You can sue as many people as you want. That's not going away. And now that guns are digital and copyable and printable, you lost. Just like the RIA and the MPAA, you've lost. The fight's over. People can print guns now. Thanks. So, realize it faster than the Motion Picture Association of America.
And probably find a way to protect yourself.
And you know what's even easier than to print a gun? A really large capacity magazine for an AR. It is so much easier to print a magazine than it is a gun.
Definitely.
So your ideas on regulating the ammo size, the clip size, they always say clip.
Yeah.
Because they have no idea what they're talking about. But, they want to limit our magazine size to X number of bullets so that it takes longer in between reloads when we're mass murdering people. So they want to make the 300 million good guns weaker. Mm-hmm. They want to make my wife's ability to protect my kids weaker to stop the one guy, the bad guy, right? That she needs those extra rounds to shoot at.
Right.
And the bad guy can print his own magazine. Mm-hmm. So you limit AR magazines to 1 bullet. Let's say you just make them little 1 bullet mags, you pop it in, you get 1 shot, and you have to reload. He just go buy a printer for $900, 3D print himself a 150 round AR mag. Anyway, I don't want to belabor the point anymore, but
yeah,
that's my sort of gun rant.
Nice.
It's over. You lost. This stuff is out there in the ether. It's digital. It's printable. It's copyable. You can't regulate it anymore. You lost. The internet's here. Technology's here. Yeah. Buy a gun. Protect yourself.
That's what I'm saying. Like, buy the gun for the thing it was originally meant for. Protecting yourself. Like you said, equal ground.
Yep.
Like, don't become a victim.
All right, you're up.
All right, cool. So I'm not sure.
Do you have anything to say on that? I didn't even ask. You're like, nah. What do you think of guns?
I like rifles and I like shooting at targets. I don't like the idea of shooting at people.
Which is interesting.
Well,
oh, wait, no.
I don't think anybody.
I think we're going to
likes
say
the
you don't
idea
like
of
shooting
at people.
pistols.
I hate shooting pistols.
Yeah, that was interesting to me. So, why is that?
It's putting so much power into my hands when I'm holding a pistol. That
Just like the physical boom of it?
Well, it's not the jumping that scares me. Like, yes, in action, that's like nerve-wracking just because something's going like this. But I just don't like the idea that at any moment I could turn and I could like end someone's life, you know? And
Really?
even though I could do that with a rifle, I feel more in control with a rifle because
No, I
it is,
understand.
like I'm pretty much an envelope for it.
You would have to like turn your entire torso.
Yeah, and more people would see
Got
it
it.
coming. You know,
Yeah.
you could shoot a pistol at like any angle. So it's scary for me to think that it would be very easy for me to cause harm to another person.
Yeah, no, that's a great fear to have. That makes you one of the good guys
Yeah.
that would probably be able to be trusted with a gun, you know? Unlike the people that don't even think about that stuff and they're like, "Woo, let's shoot some guns, set off some fireworks for 4th of July."
Yeah. I can just imagine someone being like, "You never know. Someone could open a window in his house and a breeze could come in and pull that trigger." Someone who's totally ignorant about the gun.
Where I was going with it was that, this is totally anecdotal, my personal life experience, that most females enjoy rifles more than pistols. I don't know if that's anybody else's experience, but mine is. You guys? And it may be for that reason and
I
others.
have no idea.
I think there's also a certain thing that comes with men and pistols too. I feel like for men, it's like it gives them more of a feeling of they have power over their situation. While for women, it's they have power over like somebody else, like their life. Like, you know, it's I feel like because a lot of men think that their job is to protect, feeling like having a pistol in their hand is like an item that they can use to defend, and so they feel safer with it. But for women, we feel like we're putting ourselves and other people in danger.
It's really strange. I have like a super simplistic view of that. It's like pistol is a tool for one thing, shotgun is a tool for another thing, a rifle is a tool for another thing.
Right.
Like,
It's hard as hell to carry a rifle all day long.
yeah. I can't conceal a rifle easily on my body. It's not gonna happen.
Well, I mean, I have a carbon 15, and I don't have any images or anything of that to show, but it's like an AR that's a compact AR. You can't call it a pistol form factor, but it's pretty concealable. Like if pistols didn't exist, I'd be carrying that, and if that didn't exist, I'd probably be carrying something bigger, just because, you know.
Sawed-off shotgun.
There you go. All right. Anyway, I think we beat the shit out of guns today. So.
Oh, really?
Oh wait, hold on. Let's gun cam. Boop.
I was like,
Nope, hasn't moved.
if it's my turn, then I'm talking about guns.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
All right.
Sort of.
Let us continue.
Sort of. This is actually interesting.
You had some photos. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Tell me when.
Not now.
Not now. Okay.
No, shh. Don't do it yet.
Okay.
So right after the Orlando mass shooting, many media outlets were calling this the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history.
Yep.
And I don't know how many people realize this, or had this interaction with people on their social media accounts, but a lot of people were saying, like, that's not true. This is not the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. You're rejecting history if you say that.
I'm interested in. I don't know what you're. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So this mass shooting in Florida was deadlier than Virginia Tech, Sandy Hook, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot.
Okay.
And what the mass shootings that people brought up were like the Wounded Knee Massacre, which left about 300 Native Americans dead by U.S. troops, and the Tulsa Massacre, which ended in about 300 people also getting killed by mobs of white people. NPR actually wanted to see if they were correct in saying that this was the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. So they contacted Grant Dewey, who is the Director of Research and Evaluation at Minnesota Department of Corrections. Dewey makes a distinction between mass murders that happened before 1900 and after 1900. He says that before 1900, mass murders were perpetrated by the haves against the have-nots. And after 1900, mass murders are perpetrated by the have-nots against the haves. Also, before 1900, mass murders were perpetrated by a single person. Also before 1900, few mass murders were perpetrated by a single person, meaning that they were mostly groups of people killing massive amounts of people.
Before 1900?
Before 1900.
Okay.
Whereas now it's usually a single gunman killing a lot of people.
Well, it's like before 1900, maybe it was a group of people. After 1900, it was the have-nots against the haves.
Yes.
And then after 2000, it was just a bunch of whiny sissy bitches.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that are depressed or angsty or had a bad childhood, so they decide to murder people.
Yeah.
Yeah, prescription meds.
Yeah. So NPR said that today, a mass shooting is defined as one gunman opening fire in a public space, and that we don't tend to put massacres involving military or quasi-military actors and those perpetrated by a group in that category. Therefore, Dewey recommended that you add a time element to your characterization, and NPR concluded that they should change the catchphrase, because it's basically what it is, it's a catchphrase for an article, to the deadliest mass public shooting in modern U.S. history. Which would make some more sense to them, I guess. Now, I don't know if that's if this is like a far-fetched idea that I have, but it seems that people are now putting massacres or genocides conducted by government or militia groups in a category of past events, as in it doesn't happen today, which I believe is totally false.
Well, I mean, I hear the response right now is that people are going to say, well, that was the government, that was the army.
Yeah. They're just doing
so those aren't mass shootings. That's a battle.
Right. So I'm actually going to talk about the massacres that people brought up, which is the Wounded Knee massacre.
Okay.
The incident was initially referred to as the Battle of Wounded Knee, as you just said. But some American Indian groups have objected to this description and referred to it as the Wounded Knee Massacre. The location is officially known as Wounded Knee Battlefield, and the U.S. Army currently refers to it as just Wounded Knee, because I said they're spineless bricks, but that's what I just said. They just call it Wounded Knee.
I got these pictures. Do you want to show them?
No, not yet.
Oh, not yet.
Okay.
Sorry.
Anyway, so this happened on December 29th, 1890.
Okay.
The day before, the U.S. 7th Cavalry Regiment intercepted and escorted 2 Lakota tribes to Wounded Knee Creek, where they made camp. The morning of the 29th, the rest of the 7th Cavalry arrived. 500 U.S. cavalry and 350 Lakota men, women, and children were at this camp at this point. So they were outnumbered, and of course the U.S. cavalry is all men. The camp was surrounded, and 4 rapid-fire Hotchkiss-designed M1875 mountain guns were set up. So you can show a picture of that.
Oh.
So imagine.
I can show the picture now?
Yeah, of that. Okay, so this is the gun. They had 4 of these set up. They were surrounded. They surrounded the entire American Indian camp. And after that, the troops ordered the Lakota to be disarmed and escorted to awaiting trains. As tensions rose, a man named Black Coyote refused to give up his rifle. 2 men grabbed Black Coyote from behind, and in the struggle, the rifle discharged. And then firing broke out. Men and women who were unarmed and only trying to escape the slaughter that was occurring in this one little camping ground were hunted down and killed by the U.S. troops. Unarmed men and women, or women and children.
The show is so bright and cheery.
Yeah. Quote, half the Indian men were killed or wounded before they had a chance to get off any shots. The surrounding troops opened fire with the Hotchkiss guns and took out the Lakota men, women, children, and even their own men. Some estimates placed the number of dead Lakota at 300, and 25 U.S. troops died. In the aftermath, 20 U.S. troops were awarded the Medal of Honor, going, quote, in pursuit of Lakota who were trying to escape or hide, and for, also, quote, conspicuous bravery in rounding up and bringing to the skirmish line a stampeded pack mule. So they were basically praised for everything that they had done there, and were giving the highest award in the military, the Medal of Honor.
Naturally.
Yeah. Now, I know what people are going to say, that this is an event for the history books, that this couldn't that this could not easily happen today. I think that's bullshit. I think that people will call me a conspiracy theorist and inconsiderate for pointing out the government's dedication in disarming its citizens, but there are serious concerns here. People will also point out that this happened in 1890, and we are very different these days. We are so much more civilized, and this could never have occurred in our current governing bodies, rules, and regulations. But I'd also like to point out that this happened 100 years after the Constitution and Bill of Rights were established, which is still the law of the land. These are still the laws that we live under right now. Nothing has changed in that sense. And to say that we have nothing to worry about is foolish, and will most likely lead to a massacre or other helpless women and children being slaughtered for some false cause.
So why was the army there evicting the Indians? Did the Indians do something,
the
or
Indians
were they just...
were basically... Yeah, so if you could show the other two pictures real quick.
Got it.
I wasn't eye rolling because you asked the question. I was just thinking about how, Indians don't do anything at all to deserve being killed. It's like back then, like we came here,
I wish I could get my mother on. She knows so much about American Indian history.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, this Lakota tribe was called some. I didn't really read the beginning history, but they were called somewhere. So they were traveling to some agency or something like that, and for no reason, I think it was a South Dakota regiment of the Army just found out where they were and headed them off. And of course, I don't know why, but they escorted them to this campsite and wanted to haul them off on trains.
So it was a mass shooting.
Yeah.
And what other modern day mass shootings can we think of?
What?
If we look at it through the lens of governments are capable of mass shootings too, what other modern day mass shootings have we seen? I think they just do mass bombings and mass dronings, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Of women and children in hospitals and churches.
Well, I mean, because you're okay, these people in Florida are completely innocent, completely unarmed in this nightclub. But it's dude, this is the exact same situation, except that we're not counting it as a mass shooting because it was from a government military. It's these people were unarmed themselves. You hunted down women and children that were running from the skirmish because they had absolutely no way to defend themselves, and they were frightened, and you hunted them down and you killed them.
Man, I have so many thoughts on this. So, the first thought I have is that, we're not responsible for what our ancestors did. And I hate it when people try and blame us for things that our ancestors did. But that's because we weren't them. We don't exist anymore. The American government still exists, so that blame still belongs on the American government. That's the first thing I thought of. The second thing I thought of, you're talking about what they call this stuff. The language is really important, right? So what is a terrorist attack like this? We call it a terrorist attack. We call it a mass shooting. But isn't it just a battle in this war? So, I mean, they're at war with us. They think that we're attacking them, and they're attacking us back. So, in a way, it's just a battle in a war. And if people would call it that, maybe they would realize that the mass shooting is actually just a result of the war we're in, instead of just kind of an isolated event. I don't know. Am I making any sense at all?
No.
So you're saying that the government has a role in this mass shooting, is what you're saying, because of the wars that we're conducting overseas. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying, when we call it a mass shooting, it feels completely disconnected from anything going on in the world.
Right.
But if we call it a battle in a war...
Yeah, but these people that are... that are involved in the mass shootings, the individual shooters, aren't involved in a war. They are themselves. They're not involved in anything else. They have their own prerogative and their own reason to go and commit mass murder, you know.
But if their reason is Islam, then they're part of the war, right?
No.
No. Okay,
No,
why?
because one person does not stand for an entire religion. So
Okay, let's call it radical Islam. Does that fix what I said?
I still don't, like, no.
So, like, if you're willing to kill people
If
because
they
of your
were,
religion, then you're part of that group of people to do that, right?
I would say that, yeah, they're part of that part of like, if it's that section of the religion that does it, yeah. But
And those people have declared war on us, right?
if that part of the religion is coming in a full group of people and attacking, then it would be war. If it's one person planning with that part of the religion, it would still be, I would say that would still be an attack, like in a war.
So if we send no people over there, just like an automated drone, is that a participation in a war, or is that just like a terrorist event?
Well, I mean,
You know
that's
what I'm saying?
that's like the same thing as bombing someone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
War has to evolve because
Yeah.
the tactics have evolved. Like like you're saying, like it's not a war of radical Islam versus us. It's also a war of us versus radical Islam. It's a two-sided thing. Like we're at war, two parties. There's a war going on. I would say that.
We're definitely pissing people off and killing innocent people.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that creates people that want to attack us back.
right.
And when we just call it a mass shooting, it disconnects that act from
The bigger picture.
the bigger picture. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that we are directly I am not saying that we are directly responsible for the mass shooting in Florida as a country. And
Right.
I use the collective language.
don't
I'm
say
trying
we.
to break myself of using collective
Right.
language like we. I'm not saying America and Americans are responsible
I
for the
see,
mass shooting
because
in
you're
Florida.
saying that, like,
I'm just saying.
we're also not responsible for the freaking massacre that happened to the Lakota tribes.
Or the hospital with children that I did it again, that America bombed.
Right.
We're not responsible for that.
Yeah.
I would stop that today if I could and put the people that
Yeah.
did it in prison.
Yeah. And I think that
worse.
sensible people all around the world, just normal citizens of all these other countries that we're supposedly at war with, would also agree with that. I think it's just a whole bunch of...
Jeff says don't forget about Waco.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think that it's always like these top-tier officials of each country that are like... Those are the people that are at war with each other right now.
Mm-hmm.
The citizens of the countries would not like to have it this way.
Of probably either country
Majority.
or either
Yeah.
group. right?
Majority. There are some like war-hungry people in,
Right.
in America be like,
Yeah.
hell yeah,
Right.
shoot them.
Okay. Are we good?
Yeah, it's good.
I think we're done with guns now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's it.
We're done with guns.
Unless did it move at all?
Oh, better check. Hold on. Boop. Did it move?
It looks exactly the same.
All right. Good. Okay, so I wanted to, so I made our first T-shirt. This just occurred to me randomly yesterday, and I want to share it with you guys. And I want to suggest that you guys check these shirts out. We are not selling them for any sort of profit. Every penny of margin that we make on these shirts, we are donating to the cause. Let me just check on something here right quick. Sorry, guys. Want to make sure the stream is healthy. I'm getting a message here. 1 second. All right. I'm not sure why the stream's bad. Let's press on. Hopefully it'll fix itself and we can just release it recorded later.
I remember one thing I wanted to bring up though, because it seemed like there was some similarities between what's happening now and what happened during this Wounded Knee massacre. The government wanted to bring everyone to one area and then they wanted to disarm them, and then they wanted to ship them off, right? I mean, it seems like this story has been played out like over and over and over and over again, and not in just the United States, but all around the world. Like it's a government that wants to come, disarm the people, and then ship them off somewhere to do something for them.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It seemed to play out the same.
All right, cool. So the thing I wanted to talk about was the T-shirt. This is created to support the legal defense of Ross Ulbright. Hopefully, we don't know for sure yet. This is all uncertain until somebody grants him his due process. They've applied for appeal. So if his court case goes to appeal, they're going to try and retry the whole thing. And I thought of this T-shirt because we've been talking to people that are involved with the jury nullification movement a lot lately, and it got me thinking, like, what if the jury that tries Ross's appeal has some jury nullification activists on it, and they just basically set him free. What a powerful thing that would be. So I think this T-shirt is an opportunity to kind of join the two causes together, right? So we need to educate people about the process of jury nullification and the power it has to sort of subvert the victimless crimes that are part of our justice system. And I hope we're going to interview some people on that soon. But hopefully, I thought this T-shirt would be a good idea to kind of raise money for his legal defense, as well as kind of raise awareness, get people asking about what jury nullification is. So the link to that is in the description. Again, there's no profit involved here. Anything that we make will be donated to his legal defense. So I wanted to point that out. I thought it was awesome.
Cool.
I ordered one. It's just for me. I designed it just for me. Everybody else can buy one if they want. All right. And then the last story I have for you.
Is it happy?
It is happy.
Yay.
It is happy. I'm very happy that it's happy. All right, here we have an awesome story about a man named, and I'm going to butcher every name in the story, Harman Singh. He follows the religion of Sikhism, who have fought for hundreds of years to end all caste distinctions in India and all around the world. They vehemently oppose the stratification of society by any means and diligently work to create an egalitarian society for the purposes of justice and equality. Dastar, did I say that right? We had to Google this earlier. Dastar is the name for the turban worn by the Sikh. It is an article of faith that has been made mandatory by the founders of Sikhism. It's not to be regarded as a mere cultural paraphernalia, though. When a Sikh man or woman dons a turban, the turban ceases to be just a piece of cloth and becomes one and the same with the Sikh's head. So the turban, as well as the other articles of faith worn by the Sikhs, have an immense spiritual as well as temporal significance to them. The symbolisms of wearing a turban are many. It's regarded as a symbol of sovereignty, dedication, self-respect, courage, and piety. Due to its distinguishable nature, the turban has often been a target during times of persecution. There have been times in the relatively short history of the Sikh nation that if one wore a turban, it was reason enough for his head to be cut off by the tyrannical regimes of the time. The collective response of the Sikh nation to that was, quote, "You may take off my head, but not my turban." So that brings us to Harman, who witnessed a tragedy of 5-year-old, and I have a picture for you. Oh, not a very good picture. 5-year-old Dejan Paya. Paya?
Probably Paya.
Let's go with Paya.
There's not an H after the P.
He was hit by a car. 5-year-old hit by a car. When he ran over to check on the boy, he saw the boy was bleeding from his head. So he immediately removed his dastar and used it to help stop the bleeding. Basically, he broke a very strict tenet of his religion because he saw somebody in need. For placing a child's life over the most strict of religious traditions, he is being heralded as a hero around the world. I love stories like this because it shows that when the chips are down and lives are in trouble, people will really do whatever it takes to help and heal and to come to each other's aid. The thing that we need to do is realize that these artificial and non-existent borders between countries don't exist. Once we lose this figment of our imaginations, once we get rid of this us versus them mentality, then maybe we can stop killing each other and instead start healing and helping each other like this guy did, like most people would do. So today, the boy's alive, he survived. The guy that helped him is a hero. The world, the country, a lot of the people in that area came together and like donated a bunch of stuff to the guy. He's got like a house full of furniture. Now that I guess he's pretty poor, so he had a pretty stark house with nothing to really sit on. So now he's got decked out and he's getting the recognition he deserves. And all it cost was a brief moment of breaking one of the most strict tenets of his religion.
That's all.
But the point is that he got his priorities right. Is
Right.
the point?
Yeah.
If that boy had to die because he didn't want to take his turban off, there's a problem. Anyway, so I thought that was an uplifting story. That's why I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
Not knock the religion.
Right.
Any thoughts?
Not really.
Good.
If we're not knocking shit, then I ain't gonna.
Then you're done.
I'm not gonna be the perpetrator here.
There are only opinions on, darker topics on this
That
channel.
was my attempt at lightening the show, and he's like, nope. All right, guys. I think that's it for us today. Thank you for joining me on Father's Day.
Yeah.
It was awesome. If you guys found this show informative, useful, or entertaining, please check us out on the socials and consider tossing a few coins in our hat. We've started a Patreon and we accept Bitcoin donations. We offer our posters, bumper stickers, and T-shirts on Zazzle and in the new Open Bazaar software. All the info is down below. Tell us what you liked, how we can do better, and once again, thanks for watching.
Thanks.